I'm sorry, I didn't see Commissioner Hatcher. Would he come forward and we'll go ahead with agricultural expansion request? Commissioner Hatcher, forgive me for not seeing you back there. You were not only prompt, but ahead of time. And we do apologize last week for having folks sit through a long calendar and then not be able to get to you. So we'll try to be more respectful of your time today and let you present the facts regarding your expansion request. So without objection, we are out of session. Commissioner Hatcher, you're recognized.
Well, testing. There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Charlie Hatcher, Ag Commissioner. I have to the left of me is Chris Eaton. He's the Assistant Commissioner, and he takes care of all things money with the department. And we have just one item, one budget expansion request. It's really pass-through money from USDA, federal money for local food purchase assistance cooperative program expansion. And the total of the project is $8.2 million. The grant ends fiscal year 2025. So the funding purpose is to procure and distribute local and regional foods and beverages to geographical regions. There's estimated about 1 million food insecure Tennesseans in the state, which is fairly surprising, but that's the fact of the matter. And these food and beverages would go to 5 local food banks and be distributed based on number of food insecure Tennesseans in each region. I can entertain any questions related to that request.
Thank you, Commissioner. First of all, I'm grateful for these funds. I know my own food bank in Chattanooga area that serves regional food banks, as they've had a tremendous increase in the folks that they're seeing and providing food to. So it's gratifying to see that we'll have more resources with which to help them. But I do have a couple of questions, beginning with Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner, for being with us. Can you give us a little bit of details on the timeline when these funds will be rolled out and what they're used for?
Madam Chair. Yes, sir. There's $1.6 million to be for fiscal year 23, $3.3 million for fiscal year 24, and these will be primarily local and regional foods and beverages that will be distributed to the 5 local food banks based on where they're located.
Thank you, Madam
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you. As far as insecure Tennesseans being able to receive the foods and the programs that you have, do you all receive any other grants to do that?
Chris, let me let you answer that question, Madam Chair, if you don't care.
Hi, this is Chris Eaton. I'm Assistant Commissioner for Department of Agriculture. We do have multiple food program grants that we pass through to various food banks. There are roughly 3 programs that we administer that distribute those foods throughout the state.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Well, thank y'all for what you do. I know we have Second Harvest Food Bank in my area up in East Tennessee, and I've experienced the same thing as Madam Chair Lady has. It's just been a huge increase and a lot more people needing the assistance, and they do a great job. I just wish there was more funding we could give them because they sure stretch it out. Thank you.
I'd like to comment too on one of the very positive things I think I see at our food bank, and I assume others are doing as well, and that is more fresh produce, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. And, I would like to see, Commissioner, more partnerships with farms and, farms and farmers and their products to the food banks as well, when they have excess products over and above what they can sell that are perhaps in danger of being spoilage. Uh, Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my question surrounds the food banks. How much money will each food bank receive in funding, and how did the department determine that allocation?
The allocation of the monies is based on the number of food insecure Tennesseans in each region. And I can't quote the numbers, but I can get back to you on exactly what that is once we get with USDA.
Thank you for that info. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And how often are those numbers recalculated? Because that's a moving target in my area, and I assume others as well. So how often do those allocations, do we look at the proportions and the numbers?
I'm not sure.
Commissioner?
I'm not sure, but I think it's based on USDA's data collection that they do on a, I believe, yearly basis, but I can confirm that.
Because many things can change in a year, but if those are the numbers that we're using, I understand, but it would be interesting to know. So thank you. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. These funds, can they also be used for farmers markets and venues like that to help get healthy foods out?
I believe USDA is pretty specific. You have to be a subrecipient and qualify for it. I believe, as far as I know at this point, it's with the 5 local food banks that are already within the system. I don't know if that precludes farmers markets, but I'd have to check on it and see. It's a USDA program, but it is targeted at more local foods to try to get as much local foods to the food insecure in that region.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, lady. And along those lines, does the department have funding for farmers markets, and especially in food insecure areas?
Commissioner?
Yes, we do. Through our business development, we have allocations that go out to farmers markets. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Chair, lady, just quick follow up to the Commissioner. Do you
Last
mind?
one.
It's the last one, Madam Chair, lady. Do you can your office get with my office on these items so
Yes,
we can get
sir.
just a little bit more detail on them? Thank you, Madam Chair, lady.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you, Commissioner. The dollars are from the American Rescue Plans. Were these dollars that the department pursued, or did the American Rescue Plan simply say we have these amount of dollars available?
I believe that USDA allocated the funds based to states based on population.
Representative Miller.
Yes. Are there matching funds? Any state dollars go along with these dollars? Any matching?
Not that
funds
I'm
from
aware
state?
of.
Representative Miller.
Last question is to say you have to spend these dollars by 2024. After 2024, is there any way that we as a state could apply for some additional grant dollars for the program?
Commissioner.
The grant ends fiscal year 2025, so I assume you have until that to spend the monies, and then there'll be a start of another program after that, I would assume.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other questions on my list. Commissioner, thank you for being here. And again, I apologize for last week and not getting to you, but without objection, the expansion request is approved. Next, I believe that we have Commissioner McWhorter and our folks from the Department of Economic and Community Development. For someone who used to work there, I really stumbled over that name. So, Commissioner?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Stuart McWhorter, Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development. To my left is Mr. Paul Vandermeer, Assistant Commissioner, and Braden Stover, our Legislative Director. And we are here to just ask for an expansion. The department was awarded a $78,600 grant by the Delta Regional Authority, DRA, to support the Angel Investor Training Initiative in partnership with Launch Tennessee and the Angel Capital Association. This program will support training to add more capital to invest, gain angel investor experience for new investors and entrepreneurs, and strengthen the entrepreneurial ecosystem across the state. Additionally, this grant supports the expansions of small business, entrepreneurship, and innovation strategies to be further developed and administered by our department. The training will have particular emphasis on underserved and underrepresented individuals to activate their potential as investors and entrepreneurs. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. And since this is a DRC grant, are these dollars focused on any particular geographic area of the state, or are they can be used anywhere?
West of the Tennessee River is my understanding, and this is DRA.
And we have the ARC for the eastern part of the state.
Correct.
I don't have anyone on my list for questions. Questions or comments? Seeing none, without objection, we approve your expansion request, and thank you so much. We
Thank
look
you.
forward to the fruits of your labor.
Thank you very much.
And now our final expansion request is with mental health. I know that Commissioner Williams could not be here today, but she sent able representation. So if you all will just come forward and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Mary Shelton, and I'm the Executive Director for the Opioid Abatement Council. Introduce yourself.
My name is Gene Wood, and I'm the Budget Director for the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
So we are here today to present on our budget expansion request and to address any questions you may have. In 2021, via Public Chapter 491, the Tennessee General Assembly created the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council to manage the disbursement of settlement funds from Tennessee's opioid lawsuits. This law also provides direction of the staffing of the council, which includes the executive director and 2 full-time positions. The budget expansion request is to fully fund these 3 positions. It includes the salary for one of the full-time staff and funding to cover the benefits and professional services for all 3 positions. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you here today, and we're happy to take any questions.
Are there questions of the director? Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Chair Lady. And as we're hearing, I don't know if this is going to be the final expansion request that we hear this year or not, but I want to thank the Chair Lady Hazelwood. These are not necessarily things that you have to run by the committee. And the fact that you do this is very informational to us and for us as a committee. So I want to thank you very much for doing that, Chair Lady Hazelwood. Thank you.
I just want you all to share in the responsibility. No, but I do think it's important. Again, there are a lot of these that come through, throughout the year when we are not necessarily in session, and sometimes Chairman Watson and I are making fairly arbitrary decisions on these. But when we are in session, I think it is incumbent upon me as chair and on you as members to be familiar with what the requests are and what we will be attempting to do and what the changes are in the budget that you approved last year that we're now living under. So I thank you for that. And Director Shelton, you did a wonderful job. Tell Commissioner Williams, while we obviously missed her, you represented her so well that you really didn't get a question at all. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
And we approve without objection. And now we are back in session. first item on our agenda is House Bill 324 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Marsh, you're recognized. I believe you do have amendments on this bill.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, the amendment is 5808.
I have a motion and a second. Would you please describe your bill, the amendment?
Yes, ma'am. House Bill 324 has an amendment that 5808 that makes the bill. This legislation was brought to us by the governor's office, working alongside the Department of Human Resources and the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration. This legislation should help with retention and recruitment efforts in the state. This amendment provides employees with 12 weeks of paid parental leave for the birth or adoption of a child in accordance with existing FMLA guidelines. It also changes how existing sick and annual time is granted to state employees. Currently, their time is accrued month to month. This would provide employees with their time off up front for a year of new employment for new employees on their service anniversary date for existing employees. Additionally, this legislation changed the definition of volunteer benefits for state employees to allow for the state to pay for portions or all of the employee's match for certain benefits. This will allow for the state to pay 50% of the employee's match for dental care and 100% of the employee's match for long-term disability. Finally, this legislation cleans up ambiguity in existing language for non-TCRS retirement plan managed by the state so that these employees can continue to access the health care benefits that they are currently eligible for. With that, I'll answer any questions.
You've heard the description of the amendment. Do I have questions? Seeing none, we're voting on amendment drafting code 005808. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Amendment 005808 goes on the bill.
Okay, and members, we have a second amendment on this bill. It's by Chair Lady Hazelwood. It's amendment number 6363. We have a motion and a second. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you are recognized on the amendment.
Thank you. This amendment simply changes the 12 weeks that the Speaker Pro Tem just discussed to 6. And this is through no disrespect to the administration or to state employees, but I think it's important that we remember here that we are dealing with not our money, but taxpayer money. And very few Tennesseans, the people who pay those taxes, get 12 weeks leave. Most don't even get 6. So I think this 6 weeks is a good and generous place for us to be. And we've spent millions of dollars in this year's budget, and those will be recurring dollars. And that's being spent on market rate salary adjustments so that we can make our state jobs more competitive. And I don't think it's fair to ask the taxpayers to provide both salary adjustments at a competitive level and then what I term to be super benefits. So state employees, if you just heard in the amendment, not only will they have the 24 days per year that they already accrue, but they're going to get those up front. So you have a month, more than a month worth of working days in addition to the 6 weeks that we're putting here. So again, and it's different with in the private sector that I came from, we had sick days and we had annual leave, but it could not be accrued. You used it or you lost it. State employees can accrue that over time. So again, it's a very generous package that we have to our state employees who work very hard. But I'm just trying to find a balance between the taxpayer who's paying the bill and the state employee. And we can always add more time if that becomes necessary in the future. You can never go back. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would renew the motion on my amendment.
Thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood. We do have a question. Representative Freeman.
Thank you. With great respect, Madam Chair, I disagree. We should be a model employer as a state. We have an opportunity here to lead. In my company, we do give 12 weeks of paid time off. 6 weeks is not enough time for a new parent to take care of their newborn child. If you have, if anybody who's ever had a child knows that at 6 weeks, you're still trying to get your wits about you. We have an opportunity right now to be a leader and show other companies what needs to happen. If we have 12 weeks as a state, others will have to do that. And with that, I make a motion to move your amendment to the table.
Okay, we have a motion to move the amendment to the table. Do we have a second?
And I'd like a roll call vote, please.
That cuts off all debate, but we do have a response from Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Well, I think that the sponsor has just identified one of the huge issues with the 12 weeks when he said that that would lead other companies to have to do that. The backbone of business in the state continues to be small businesses. Small businesses cannot afford to have somebody out for 3 months. If that employee is gone for 3 months, then they're going to have to replace them. They cannot function. So with that, I respectfully ask that my colleagues vote no on this tabling amendment.
Chairman Williams, parliamentary question.
Yes, just a quick question. Based upon the roll call vote, it's my understanding that if 3 members object, then we'd be voting on the roll call vote. Am I misunderstanding the parliamentary procedure as it relates to a roll call vote?
Let me confer.
Yep.
Oh, you're.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
But they can't.
Members, I think we're going to take a 5-minute recess to get a ruling on the objection to the roll call vote. Go ahead and hammer it. 5-minute recess. Okay, members, we are back in session, and I appreciate your patience. We are going to have a roll call vote on tabling the amendment. So a vote yes is a vote to table Chair Lady Hazelwood's amendment so that it would not be added, would not be considered. Chairman Zachary.
Mr. Chair, thank you. But part of the question we asked is that we objected to the tabling motion. So we had 3 hands to object to the tabling motion.
I believe the ruling was we had 3 hands for a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Representative Barrett.
And so to clarify one more time, we're having a roll call vote on tabling the amendment. A vote yes is to table Chair Lady Hazelwood's amendment. Call the roll.
Representative Barrett. Representative Barrett votes no. Representative Boyd. Representative Boyd votes no. Representative Campbell. Campbell votes no. Representative Camper. Camper votes aye. Representative Cochran.
No.
Cochran votes no. Representative Crawford.
No.
Crawford votes no. Representative Faison. Representative Faison is present, not voting. Representative Freeman. Representative Freeman votes yes. Representative Gant. Gant votes no. Representative Garrett. Garrett votes no. Representative Hawk. Hawk votes no. Representative Hicks.
No.
Hicks votes no. Representative Kiesling. No. Kiesling votes no. Representative Lamberth.
No.
Lamberth votes no. Representative Love. Love votes yes. Representative Lynn. Lynn votes no. Representative McKenzie.
Yes.
McKenzie votes aye. Representative Miller.
Yes.
Miller votes aye. Representative Moon. Moon votes no. Representative Parkinson. Parkinson votes aye. Representative Shaw. Shaw votes aye. Representative Sparks. Sparks votes no. Representative Whitson. Whitson votes no. Representative Williams. Williams votes no. Representative Zachary. Zachary votes no. Mr. Chairman, there are 7 ayes, 17 noes, and 1 present not voting.
Okay, motion to table the amendment fails. We're back on the amendment. Discussion on the amendment. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, question for the sponsor or maybe our chair lady can answer the question. Was the 12 weeks in the governor's initial budget?
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Yes, it was.
Representative Miller.
I certainly would like to know what the governor's position is now, or is it? Oh, I mean, is it really?
Leader Lambert.
Say it's the only list to talk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I can say this, that while I do not speak for the governor, I do speak with him on a regular basis about legislation that he is asked to be submitted to this body. He trusts this body to make a decision as a separate branch of government on whatever's in the best interest of Tennesseans and of this state. I have an enormous amount of respect for the chair lady, and if she has put an amendment forward, I think it's something that should be seriously considered. 6 weeks is significantly more than what state employees have at this juncture. The governor has put forward 12 weeks, obviously would prefer that it be 12 weeks, but at the same time, it is my opinion and mine alone that he respects this process and this body's independent ability to evaluate every piece of legislation that is sponsored by myself, Leader Cochran, and any other sponsor like the esteemed Representative Marsh that is presented to this committee. So do whatever that you feel is in the best interest of this state and your district.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, to that point, in terms of doing what's best for our constituents and our people, I would assume that the governor's process is very deliberative. He had staff. He's done his research. He's done his market, his salary research, and benefits research. And this is what his staff and office came up with. So my question to you, to the to the maker of the amendment is, what market research did you do to take the 12 weeks down to 6? What was the process for arriving at 6 weeks?
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Representative, there was an informal survey of what is available in the state. And again, I think the industry average for those who provide FMLA is around 6 weeks. There are many small businesses that don't provide it at all. The state currently does not provide FMLA for its employees. This is a big step from 0 to 6. And as I said in my remarks, we can always add to this, but as you well know, you cannot take away a benefit that you have given. So I think this is a good place to start. We'll see if it gets the job done that the governor is attempting to do. If it does not, we can always revisit that. But 6 weeks, again, is a normal amount. I'm not disagreeing. I had a small child and I got 6 weeks, and I took it and I went back to work, and it wasn't, it was very difficult in lots of ways. But again, that is a kind of a normal procedure. And we have, I also mentioned this, but I'll reiterate, we are spending millions of recurring dollars to bring salaried employees for our state employees up to a competitive level. That is competitive on a salary basis. Our benefit package, I would submit to you, our benefit package is well above competitive. We have a really good benefit package in the state for our employees in terms of leave, in terms of health benefits, retirement, all of those things. So again, I think it is unfair to me to ask taxpayers who don't have this sort of benefit to pay their taxes to the people that work for them so that they can have better benefits than they do. It doesn't seem like a justice for those who are paying into the taxes of the state. That was a long answer to a short question. I apologize.
Chairman Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the question on the amendment.
Question has been called. Are we ready to vote? All in favor of adding Amendment 6363 to House Bill 324, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Amendment is
We are now back on House Bill 324 as amended. Is there any further discussion on the bill as amended? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. To the sponsor of the bill, being private employee, private employer, do this change my personnel policies? Do I have to give 6 weeks, or if it had been 8 weeks or whatever, does this affect us as private employers?
Pro Tem Marsh.
In my opinion, it doesn't. I think that as an private employer now, that we're fighting against everybody else in the state for our good employees. So I think we've got to pay more. And if we need to up our benefits, I think we're going to have to do that. But I think this is a amendment coming from the chair lady of the Finance Committee I'm okay with. I think that 12 weeks would be great, but I think 6 weeks would be great. I think it's a fair move in my position.
Representative Shaw.
But I'm not for sure you answered my question. As a private employer, do we have to follow suit with this legislation is the question I'm asking you.
In my opinion, we do not.
Thank you.
Chairman Zachary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not to belabor the point, but to echo similar comments that you made. While I did support the amendment, I do oppose the bill. I own a small business of 8 employees. I do not have the luxury of giving people in my company 6 weeks off. I do 12 weeks off, 6 weeks off. Now, if we're talking about moms, I think that's completely different. I could support legislation looking at additional leave for mamas, but to say that I can give somebody 6 weeks off, I don't have the luxury to do that. I have a small business of 8 employees, and thousands of other business owners across the state do not have the luxury to give somebody 6 weeks off. It's just simply not possible. So to say that we're going to give $18 million next year and $30 million in subsequent years of their hard-earned taxpayer dollars to a benefit to state employees that they themselves cannot afford to do, I simply can't support that. So while I did support the amendment, I do oppose the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further questions? Chairman Marsh?
Madam Chair, I would like to answer Chairman Zachary in that we need great employees in the state of Tennessee, and we need to keep the great employees that we currently have. And there's more to this bill than that 6 or 12 weeks family leave. The state is in this portion of the bill going to pay for 50% of the employee match for dental care and 100% of the match for long-term disability. So there's a lot of real pluses and positives to this bill other than the family leave, the 12 or 6 weeks. So this, in my opinion, is a great bill, and I ask you to vote for it.
Leader Lambert?
Chairman, I just want to say, I echo what the sponsor said, and thank you for carrying it. We talk a lot about families down here and about parents and the importance of how that bond when a child is first born or adopted. And this gives our state employees 6 weeks of paid leave that they can spend time really focusing on their family and on that new child that's in their family. So I think it's a very important thing. I think it's something that we can offer from a recruitment standpoint. I share Chairman Zachary's concerns that we not wander into in any way what private businesses would be required to do. I know FMLA on the federal level does have some requirements on them as far as unpaid leave, but from a paid leave standpoint, I do think this is a good investment in families, and 6 weeks is a very generous benefit. 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. I mean, I respect the chairman, and she's a friend, and if she feels like 6 weeks in this committee and this committee feels like 6 weeks is appropriate, then so be it. But I do think that leave is important. That's just my 2 cents.
Chairman Hawk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This may be a question for legal. Is it possible to roll the 2 amendments into one? Is that something that this committee could request, that when the bill gets to the floor, we're only dealing with the one amendment that would be before us?
Legal has said we can do that. Are you making a motion to do so?
Does it require a motion, or is it something we can make a request of legal to
I believe we can do it with the request, so we'll happy to consider that.
I do make that request. I think just for ease of consideration, that would be easy, Madam Chairman and members.
All right, do we have any further conversation, questions, or comments? Representative McKenzie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I'm reading this, so now the word's going to be 6 work weeks, but is it my reading of this is that the I think I just read my answer, but it's my understanding that this that this will happen with paid. So never mind, I just read it. Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, Representative Miller, thank you you called the question on the bill. Is that what I heard? All right, and without objection, we will ask legal to roll these 2 amendments into one, and we're voting on the bill as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. House Bill 324 goes on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Item number 2 is House Bill 493 by Deputy Speaker Johnson. We have a motion and a second. Speaker Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there's an amendment that's traveling with the bill.
It is traveling, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 493 extends the nursing home annual assessment fee to June the 30th of 2024.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Not a question as much. I want to thank the sponsor for bringing this every year. I do think it's important for this committee to recognize the fact that this is for the first time, we're maxing out this section of this clawback provision because our nursing home facilities in the state are struggling to provide charitable care to citizens of the state. This was implemented as a short-term fix and to a long-term problem. And so we should all acknowledge that as, the time to try to find a better solution as it relates to charitable care in our communities and across the state. This is the time that we need to spend extra time in summers when we're not here trying to find ways in order to provide these services to our citizens. Thank you.
I echo those comments and to point out too that we have a problem we're all well aware of with hospitals in the state who are really challenged, particularly in rural areas. And the nursing home issue plays into the hospital issue. We have hospitals who have folks who they could release not to go home, but to go to some sort of interim care like a nursing home could provide. But the nursing home can't staff up. The beds are there, but there's no staff to care for those people. Therefore, they're stuck in the hospital, and you have people in the hospital emergency room not able to get into a bed. So it really is a serious problem, and we appreciate the nursing homes and the hospitals both being willing to assess themselves to help address the issues. So thank you, Speaker Johnson. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 493. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you,
The bill
Madam
goes to
Chair,
calendar and
committee.
rules. Chairman Carr, House Bill 297. You have a motion and a second. Chairman Carr, you're recognized.
Thank you, ma'am. All this bill does is it precludes the posting of all the dates and times when we have fishing events or hunting events in the county clerk's office, and just puts it on the Tennessee State website. With that, I renew my motion.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Any questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 297. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 297 goes on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Next on our agenda, Chairman Carringer, you're recognized on House Bill 572. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. House Bill 0572 was brought to me by the Treasurer's Office. Under current law, the State Treasurer, through the Unclaimed Property Division, shall sell or otherwise liquidate an abandoned security no sooner than 32 months, but no later than 36 months, after receiving the security and giving the apparent owner notice that the Treasurer holds the security. So this bill would allow the State Treasurer, through the Unclaimed Property Division, to sell or otherwise liquidate an abandoned security no sooner than 8 months, but no later than 12 months after receiving the security if this by the State Treasurer. Determines that the security has a de minimis value, less than $500, and gives the apparent owner notice as required by statute that the Treasurer holds the security. So right now, Unclaimed Property Division is currently holding 1,096 securities with a value of $500 or less. And the Unclaimed Property Division currently charges the Treasurer $475 a month or $57 a year to hold securities in the division. The proposed legislation would eliminate 20 to 28 months of custody costs for all securities valued at $500 or less. So we would actually be saving the state money. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Carringer. It's music to our ears. We like to hear about things that save the state money. Are there questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 572. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 572 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Next on our agenda, House Bill 706. Chairman Doggett. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. It is a great honor to stand before you today. There is an amendment traveling with my bill.
It is traveling.
I'm not accustomed to being in front of full finance, so you may have to help me here. Let me know, do we need to attach the amendment or are we good to
It is
go?
traveling with it, so you just need to proceed to describe your bill as amended.
Well, thank you so much. Members, we're looking at the return to work provision that we had. That's been some changes. We're adding law enforcement into that. They'll be able to, after retiring and then sitting out for 60 days, they'll be able to return to work for a department, drawing 70% of their retirement benefit while being eligible for up to 100% of whatever the salary may be at that department.
Not only are you completing a rare feat by being in front of full finance, you also managed to come with a positive recommendation from Pensions Council. So are there questions for Chairman Doggett on his home run bill? Leader Lambert.
I'm going to have to ask, was that a pitching wedge or a 7-iron?
I thought it was a baseball bat.
It's baseball. Baseball.
He just knocked that right out of the park. Okay. All right. All those in favor of House Bill 706, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 706 goes on to calendar and rules.
Thank you so much.
Item number 6, House Bill 1012. Chairman Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. This bill does two things. First, the legislation makes minor fee increases to the constable pay schedule. And second, it through the adoption of a resolution by the county commission, each county can supplement the constable pay.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1012. Moving on to calendar and rules. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam
We're
Chair.
off to calendar and rules. Now, Chair Lady Haynes, you're recognized on House Bill 1321.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
We have a motion and a second.
I do have an amendment traveling with the bill.
Yes, the amendment is traveling, and I
Okay.
believe that Chairman Faison is very anxious to speak. Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to go out of order just for a minute. My girlfriend just walked in the back, Miriam. I think she should stand up and wave, don't y'all think so? Y'all make her feel welcome.
Okay.
Chair Lady Haynes, I apologize for the
That's okay.
distraction,
That's
but we
quite all right.
do welcome Miriam, and we want to, we just want to lift her up because she has a heavy burden to bear. Please tell us about your bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Lady. This bill authorizes a school bus driver to use a portable electronic device for navigation of the school bus and for accurately accounting for students at bus pickup and drop-off locations through use of the device's global positioning system under certain conditions.
Any questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1321. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
1321 is calendar and rules. Item number 8, Chairman Hulsey, House Bill 1482. We have a motion, second. Chairman Hulsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. This bill deals with bail agents. It does two things. Right now, the cap for yearly training for bail agents is at $240, had been raised since 1996. This sets a cap at $450, and the bill also requires an annual requirement for bail agents to have a criminal history background done once a year. Right now, that fee's $37.15, and it requires them to pay for it.
Thank you, and I appreciate the bill. These folks have a lot of authority in many ways, so I think recognizing the need for the background check on an annual basis and not just one time is an extremely good move. Are there questions for the sponsor? Then we are voting on House Bill 1482, going on to calendar and rules. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Committee
Calendar
Chair.
rules.
Lady and Committee.
Item number 9, House Bill 318 by Chair Lady Rudder. We have a motion and a second. And Chair Lady Rudder, I do show we have an amendment, drafting code 006190. Is that what you have?
That's correct.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. So please tell us about the amendment.
Okay. This amendment is pertaining to the birth mother's rights as far as her advice with counsel. So I'm just going to read what the amendment actually says. The judge or other officiant has also advised me, which would be the birth mother, that once my child is born, I'm still free to obtain my own lawyer who I can consult with prior to and during my reaffirmation of this surrender, which I may choose to make. That's what the amendment does. It adds a sentence to this legislation.
All right. Seeing no questions, we are voting on the amendment 6190. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Drafting Code Amendment 006190 is now attached to the bill. So please share with us what the bill does as amended.
Yes. This legislation seeks to make the adoption process more user-friendly, efficient, and attractive as an alternative to abortion for unplanned pregnancies. That's what the bill does.
Questions? Seeing none. We are voting on House Bill 318. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 318 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady and Committee.
Item number 10, House Bill 323, Leader Cochran. Leader Cochran, you're recognized at your seat.
Second.
You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe maybe we have one amendment we need to add for clarification.
I'm actually showing 4 amendments. Well,
Yeah.
3. We have one. I'm sorry.
Yes,
one
I'm
was
sorry. Yes,
withdrawn.
one new amendment. I apologize. Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
So the first amendment, drafting code 004955.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we have a motion on the amendment?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So tell us what this amendment does, Leader Cochran.
Stand by 1 second, Madam Chair. And let me ask you, just for your preference, Chair Lady, do we want to add these together and then I can kind of explain what the bill does at that
We
point?
can do
Is
that if they're,
if that's okay with the committee?
so we're drafting code 4955. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. 4955 is now attached. Next is drafting code 006162. Do I have a motion on the amendment?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Leader Cochran, we are voting on 6162. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. 006162 is now attached to the bill. Amendment 3, drafting code 006724.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. We are voting on 006724 being attached. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. 6724 is now on the bill, and we are back on House Bill 323 as amended. So Leader Cochran, tell us what we had just done.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for bearing with me on the multiple amendments to just to get this in the proper posture. So House Bill 323, Chair Lady and Committee, this is one of the largest tax reform packages in Tennessee's history. and really one of the largest tax cuts for Tennessee businesses, again, in our state's history. Its goal is to provide tax relief to Tennessee families, provide tax relief to Tennessee businesses, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, and to make Tennessee a stronger economic competitor against other states. The portion of the bill that made the maybe the largest headlines was perhaps the 3-month grocery sales tax holiday, which that's big, right? That's definitely significant. But what I think maybe has even a longer effect, more of a generational effect, are those reforms to the business and excise taxes. And if you'll bear with me, just want to hit just a couple of those larger points. So this bill raises the threshold for who is subject to the business tax in Tennessee from $10,000 to $100,000 in gross receipts. Just to give you an idea of the effect that will have, this will exempt 140,000 business locations in this state from the business tax. It provides approximately $8 million in tax relief to businesses for fiscal year 24. Businesses with less than $100,000 in gross receipts would pay just a $15 local license fee. And then, of course, we increase the percentage of business tax distributed to cities and counties in order to hold local governments harmless. One other thing I want to point out on the excise tax provides a small business standard deduction up to $50,000. And again, this deduction provides $94.5 million in tax relief for businesses. Every business with a profit, approximately 70,000 businesses, will benefit from this. Want to touch also, this creates a 2-year state-paid family leave tax credit. So if a private employer chooses to, if they choose to provide an employee with family paid leave, the business can receive an excise tax credit based on the wages paid to the employee. The credit will mirror what happens on the federal level. It will allow a business to offset up to 50% of their F&E liability. Another big portion of this bill is just the single sales factor. Currently, a lot of businesses use that where they locate a large amount of employees or a large amount of properties outside of Tennessee. That makes those Tennessee locations suffer, makes an unfair playing field. This levels that, and again, provides tax relief for those Tennessee businesses. So again, those are some of the high points of this bill. This is something that makes Tennessee more competitive. It makes Tennessee, continues to make us more business friendly. And very honored to carry it. And again, think it will have generational effects for the people and for businesses in Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader Cochran. Chairman Williams, I believe you have a question.
Thank you, Chairman, Chair Lady, and Leader Cochran. I didn't have a question so much as I wanted to say thanks to Commissioner Gargano and his staff for their assistance. They had an opportunity to meet with me and a couple of members of this finance committee to go over this bill. It is pretty complex. I want to thank the leader for that as well. What I think is best about this bill and what this tax relief is, there is not a sector of the citizens of this state that wouldn't receive some form of tax relief. Not one. Didn't matter if you were a small business, a large corporation as it relates to single factor sales tax reduction for families across the state. It's a great opportunity for us because there's many times where we are able to cut taxes across the state, but only a few or a certain group benefit. But it took a lot of time and a lot of effort to make sure that we were able to do that. The best part for me really is that we're continuing through the single factor sales tax or excise tax. We're creating Tennessee as a better place than we already are. I don't know how you improve being the best at something, but allows us to be able to improve the domicility status of a lot of corporations and encourage them to move their businesses here to the state where they can thrive better than where they are. And so for that, Leader and Chair Lady, thank you.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I too like this bill overall. The devil's always in the details, but in terms of the wide-ranging effect that it has, I think it will be overall good for a majority of the Tennesseans. I do have a question or two. First question is, this is saving our constituents and our businesses a considerable amount of money. But that money, as you know, has to come from somewhere. So how are we supplementing this loss of income as it relates to our budget?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I think one thing that's important to look at with this is not only is it that tax cut for Tennessee businesses, but it's adjusting a fairness issue, especially with that single sales factor. So eventually, if you look at the fiscal note over several years, that starts to correct at the state begins to collect more revenue, and again, it just makes the state more competitive. And again, hopefully, as this typically goes, when you make a more business-friendly environment, businesses and companies tend to thrive. They hire more. They do more business, and since we are collect the taxes and reap the benefits from that will result in economic growth in our state. So I think that's how we make up for it. We continue to grow our economy here in Tennessee, and I think that's what's projected here.
And I'll add to that. I spent a little time in the Department of Economic and Community Development several years ago, and one of the places that Tennessee was not particularly competitive was on franchise and excise taxes. We've done an amazing job with recruiting businesses here, even with that impediment, if you will. This will make Tennessee even more attractive and make it even easier for businesses to choose to move here or to expand operations that they may already have in place in the state. So again, I think Representative McKenzie, to your question, this will be made up by the fact that we're going to increase the amount of people and companies that are doing business in Tennessee. Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I definitely understand what you're saying, I think that's a dangerous route to go. It's betting on futures. And I think we've just heard of some banks that started to take that philosophy. We are a great state. That's why we all are sitting here serving this great state. But there are other states that are incentivizing as well. So I think that may not need to be our only linchpin. But with that said, as it relates to how you're apportioning your taxes with folks that are doing business inside and outside of the state of Tennessee, that formula troubles me some, because if you run it, if you're doing all your business in the state of Tennessee, you're paying more proportionally than businesses that are they're here, located here, but their business is going outside of the state. Their products are going some inside, some outside. That worries me. As entities that are here are taking our resources, which is a good thing. But if we're paying them to do business outside the state, that one concerns me. Could you speak to that?
Leader Cochran, and then I believe Leader Lamberth also.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative, so I believe you may have that flipped currently. You're correct. If you are, there's that incentive currently that if you're a business and you locate your property and a large percentage of your payroll outside of the state, you're right. You're getting the advantage off of that current formula. This new formula, however, which will shift it to basically just your total sales in Tennessee divided by your total sales everywhere else, that puts those Tennessee companies on a level playing field. Currently, you are correct. Companies can take advantage of moving their property and their payroll outside of the state while those Tennessee businesses suffer. That will not be the case with the new formula proposed in this bill, which again is just total sales in Tennessee divided by your total sales everywhere. So this corrects the issue I think that you're bringing to light.
Representative McKenzie.
just looking at the math, as you said, it's a simple formula, but as your total sales in Tennessee goes down and your total sales everywhere else goes up, you're paying less in taxes than if your total sales in Tennessee goes up and your total sales everywhere else goes down. So a business would say, I need to keep the numerator high because the more I sell in Tennessee, as a ratio, the more I sell everywhere else, I'm going to end up paying more. That new formula is going to spit out a number that has me paying more than if I make my sales in Georgia, Alabama, New York City.
Leader Cochran?
I think in looking at that formula, looking at the calculations that fiscal review has put together, as well as the Department of Revenue, I think they would disagree with that assessment.
Leader Lambert?
Just wanted to mention the fiscal note on any of the amendments that you'd like to look at. I mean, this is a over $400 million tax cut. And as to why we can afford this, it's because of the wise decisions that this body has made over the past decade. We've underspent our budget every year. And the best usage for much of these surplus dollars is to get them back to the people of Tennessee. This bill does both. It gets direct tax cuts back to the people of Tennessee and to the businesses that are investing in Tennessee. It's a win-win. So, I mean, it's hundreds of millions of dollars that we're returning from state coffers to the pockets that they belong in, which is the pockets of the people of the great state of Tennessee. So, again, to me, it's a win-win.
All right, the question has been called for. Any objection? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 537. All in favor, please signify. I'm sorry. We're voting on House Bill 323. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 323 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair, Lady, and Committee.
Leader Cochran, you did such a good job on that one. We're going to let you do the next one as well. House Bill 537.
Chair Lady, if you don't mind, thank you very much. I'm going to yield to Chairman Faison on this one.
There's an objection, but overruled. Chairman Faison, you're recognized. Do you have a motion and a second? Chairman Faison, you're recognized on House Bill 537.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Committee, a year ago, we passed a law that would allow the TWRA to invest the money that they get from lifetime license that they sell, excuse me, so they can make some interest off of it. It's a pretty large sum that's there to be able to take care of the needs for the future generations of the TWRA. This year, this bill would allow them to use money moving forward from the investment to help with the operating expenses of the TWRA.
You've heard the explanation. Questions? Seeing none. Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 537. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 537 moves on to calendar and rules. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Madam Chairman, I know we have another committee coming up here in just a few moments. This next bill may take a bit of discussion. And with that, while I support the bill fully, I would make a motion that we adjourn.
That is a non-debatable motion. So without objection, and anything that we did not take up today will be taken up on next week's calendar, and we are adjourned until then. Thank you all.